Hello children, you're welcome to this segment of the program. It's mathematics time, and that means it is time to have some fun. Hi, I'm Uncle Agbaje. Today in mathematics, we'll continue our work on scale drawing. But before we move into today's lesson, we will begin with correction to our previous assignment. In our last lesson, we were asked to make these calculations and complete this table. Number 1 says that we should find the real length if the paper length is 5 centimeters and the scale is 1:45. We want to find the real length, which is bigger than the paper length, so we have to scale it up. And that means that we will multiply this by 45, and 5 times 45 is 225 centimeters. We are asked to find the paper length here if the real length is 24 meters. The real length being 24 meters means it is 2,400 centimeters. Now, since we are scaling down because we want to find the paper length, which will be smaller, we have to divide by the scale. The scale in this case is 80. So dividing that, we get 30 centimeters. In this case, we scale up and we multiply 13 centimeters by 300. We'll get 3,900 centimeters or 39 meters. The fourth one says that we should find the paper length given that the real length is 180 meters. Now, to find the paper length, that one is smaller than the real length, so we have to scale down. So I'm just going to demonstrate that here. 180 meters, I change that to centimeters, and I have 18,000 centimeters. Now, because I am scaling it down to the paper length, I have to divide by the scale, which is 600. Now, let 2 zeros cancel 2 zeros. 180 divided by 6 gives us 30 centimeters. And finally, we are told to find the real length if the paper length is 7 centimeters. Now, the scale is 250, which means the real length is 250 times bigger. So we are going to scale it up, multiply 7 by 250, and you will get 1,750 centimeters. By the time you change that to meters, you get 17.5 meters. So if you wrote 1,750 centimeters here, you are also correct. If you wrote 3,900 centimeters here, you are also correct, my friend. Now, I believe you got this right, and for that, I'll give you a cheer. So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to calculate real and paper distances when you know the scale, especially on a map. Also, you should now be able to calculate the scale when you know the real distance and the paper distance. Without wasting much time, let's get right into it. Remember our basic points. 1 meter is 100 centimeters. 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. 1 kilometer is also 100,000 centimeters. Now, we're going to be looking at maps. A map is a description of the geographical area. It's also a scale drawing for an actual region. Remember that in our last lesson, I told you that it is possible to scale down the geographical size of Nigeria to as small as your palm, as long as you indicate the appropriate scale. And I also said that it is important that we know scale and how to apply it when we are reading maps. I'll just tell you a little story to put this into proper perspective. There was once a boy who lived with his family in Lagos. And so for the annual vacation, the father asked him where he would like for the family to visit. The boy picked up a map from Lagos. He looked at all the cities and he said, "Dad, let's go to Kano. Let's just drive to Kano." And the father said, "Kano? Kano is very far." But the boy said, "No, it's not so far. I'm looking at it on my map." And the father said, "Okay, no problem." So they started the journey very early in the morning at around 7 a.m. By 12 noon, the boy had gotten tired of the trip, Lagos traffic and all that. And he asked the father, "Are we there yet?" The father said, "No." By 2 o'clock in the afternoon, he said, "Dad, are we there yet?" The father said, "No." By 5 p.m. in the evening, they were still driving. And the boy said, "Dad, are we there yet?" The man said, "No, we've not even gotten halfway." And so they ended up spending 2 days just to get to a place the boy thought was so near. And that's because the boy did not know scale drawing. So you should pay attention so that when next you pick up a map, you know the actual distance you want to travel before you proceed on the journey. A scale of the map is usually given in this ratio. We usually put the map distance first and the actual distance with a ratio in between them, a ratio sign. So when you are asked to find the scale, just put map distance first and real distance second, putting the ratio symbol in between. Let's see some applications of this. Look at this map. It is drawn on a scale of 1 centimeter to 200 kilometer. One thing you will notice that is different today is the fact that this our scale now has units. It's not just 1 to 200. It's 1 centimeter to 200 kilometers. Now, what does that really mean? That means that any centimeter on the map really means 200 kilometer in real life. Or how do I put this in a better way for you to understand? Remember that 1 centimeter is 100,000 kilometers. So 2 centimeters will be 200,000. 2 kilometers will be 200,000 centimeters. Now, 200 kilometers will be 20 million centimeters. So any little centimeter on the map is actually 20 million times bigger in the map. That's just the way it is. Now let's look at some applications in an example. Question 1 says, the distance from Jos to Lafia on the map is 0.8 centimeter. On the map, mind you. And 0.8 centimeter is not even as long as the tip of your finger. Now, it says, how far really is Jos from Lafia if the scale is 1 centimeter to 200 kilometers? That is, on the map, we measure and we see that the distance is 0.8 centimeter. But now when we look at the scale of the map, we see that 1 centimeter is representing 200 kilometers. So how far really is this? To solve this, all we have to do is that we consider the map distance 8 centimeter and the scale. Then, since we want to find the real distance, we have to scale up. We have to scale up the map distance to get the real distance, which will be bigger than the map distance. So, and how is this going to be done? We say map distance is equal to 0.8 times 200 kilometers. Don't forget that we are scaling up. Don't forget that we are scaling up. And so, we're going to multiply 0.8 by 200 kilometers. And when we do that, what does it give us? It gives us 160 kilometers. This multiplication is very simple. Just multiply 8 by 2 and you get 16. Then add 2 zeros at the back. That is this one and this. Then remember that there is a decimal point, which means only 1 digit after the decimal place. And that's why we have this 0 after the decimal place. So the real distance in this case now is 160 kilometers. So to embark on this journey, you don't just look at, oh, it's just 0.8, it's not so far. It is really 160 kilometers in real life. All we had to do was just to scale it up. Let's look at another example of the same type. The distance between Kaduna and Abuja is about 180 kilometers. We know the real distance now. What is the distance on the map? If the scale is 1 centimeter to 45 kilometers. Now we've been given the scale. We also know the real distance, 180 kilometers. So we now want to find the distance on the map. Do you think that will be bigger or smaller? Of course it will be smaller. So are we scaling up or scaling down? Your guess, my friend, is as good as mine. We are going to scale down. So we just write the real distance is 180, the scale is 1 centimeter to 45 kilometers, and we scale down the real distance. And to scale down, this means we're just going to do what? We're just going to divide the distance by the scale. And that's exactly what we're doing here. 180 kilometers divided by 45 gives us 180 kilometers times 1 over 45. We just change this division sign to multiplication and turn this fraction upside down, and you have 1 over 45. Now, doing this, you probably say 9 goes here, 5, 9 goes here, 2, 0. Then 5 goes here, 1, 5 goes here, 4. And that's how we arrive at this 4 right here. So now, of course, we let kilometers cancel kilometers. So our real distance on the map now is 4 centimeters. Again, the real distance is 180 kilometers, but when you scale it down using the scale, you get 4 centimeters on the map. Moving on to something quite different now. Example 3 says, the distance between Asaba and Yola on a map is 6 centimeters. Now we know the map distance. The actual distance is 360 kilometers. Now we know the real distance. We know the map distance. We know the real distance. Then what seems to be the problem? The problem is, what is the scale of the map? So we have to find the scale of this map. It's very simple to solve, really. Now, the scale is usually expressed as a ratio. I said that at the beginning of the lesson, that we just put the map distance and compare it to the real distance. You will have the scale, my friend. And that is exactly what we're going to do here. So we're going to say scale is map distance to real distance. Now, what is the map distance? That's 360 kilometers. I'm sorry, that is 6 centimeters. And the real distance is 360 kilometers. So I'll just bring them closer. So map distance, 6 centimeters. Real distance, 360 kilometers. That's your scale. But you can't leave it like this. You have to bring it down to the lowest possible term. So we'll reduce it. And the only way we can reduce this is, let's get it down by 6, or divide it by 6, so to speak. So now, 6 divide 6, I get 1. 6 goes inside 6, I get 6. Then I bring the 0 up here. So we say now that we are left with 1 centimeter here and 60 kilometers on the other side. We've reduced it to the lowest term. This, my friend, is the scale. The scale is 1 centimeter to 60 kilometers. Important point, when you are told to find the scale, just compare the map distance to the real distance, bring them side by side, and reduce it to the lowest possible form. Are you ready for one of your own? I'm sure you can do this. Take this as your classwork. The distance between Lagos and Bida on the map is 8 centimeters. You know the paper distance. The real distance is 480 kilometers. What is the scale? Compare. You have 1 minute, my friend. Begin. Eyes on me. Now we're going to see how this is done. The scale is represented as map distance compared to real distance. That is map distance ratio real distance. Now the map distance in this case is 8 centimeters, but the real distance is 480 kilometers. So I'm just going to reduce this to the lowest term by dividing by 8. So dividing by 8 now, 8 goes here 1, 8 goes here 1, so I'm left with 1 centimeter here. 8 goes here 1, 8 goes here 6, and I bring my 0 upwards. So my scale now is looking like 1 centimeter to 60 kilometers. I'm just going to write that. And so this is my final answer, my friend. Now you see that it's so very easy. When you know the map distance and you want to find the real distance, scale it up. When you know the real distance and you want to find the map distance, then the map distance will be smaller, so you scale it down. But if you know both map distance and real distance and you're told to find the scale, just bring them together, compare, and reduce to the lowest term, my friend. Now here are some exercises that I want you to complete during your leisure time. You've been given the length on the paper and you've been given the length in real life. You're to compare and find the scale. Do this during your leisure and I will see you in the next lesson. I will now hand you over to Uncle Popo for the general studies lesson. Till I come your way next time, remain wonderful mathematicians.